Howdy folks, hope you are having a good one, and welcome back to 1 Minute Gaming. Today we will look at the last 3 major games that Rockstar did, and why I personally think there will never be another legend like Red Dead Redemption 2. We will be looking at the GTA series games and the new Red Dead game, as I have not played the old one since there was no PC porting culture back then. We begin with GTA 4, which came out in 2008 and forever changed how we look at and experience open world games. Once hailed as a masterpiece, GTA 4 is now a divisive relic of an era when AAA devs were brave enough to challenge their audience. At the time of its release, Grand Theft Auto 4's faithful recreation of New York City was unlike anything that gaming had ever seen. Its grim aesthetics and grounded presentation signaled a new era for video games, where developers could make players feel as though they were really living in a virtual world. Today, however, GTA 4 is perhaps best known for a more distinct sort of ambition, a sense that Rockstar was making a different take on the open-world crime game, one that questioned the very foundations of the genre. Though it didn't fully succeed at that aim, it's now a reminder that even blockbusters can challenge their players in a variety of ways, a lesson that today's game developers would do well to remember. It's no exaggeration to say that GTA 4's technological leaps overshadowed much of the game's radical identity. The introduction of more impressive combat mechanics and a more realistic handling model for vehicles made for a night and day mechanical difference between it and its predecessors. The cartoonish violence of GTA 3 and Vice City were replaced with gritty gun battles and believable criminal hijinks. Even the game's most outlandish set piece, a lengthy bank robbery sequence strongly inspired by Michael Mann's Heat, could barely compete with the flashy jets and helicopter chases of GTA San Andreas. Even in the months after its acclaimed release, fans knocked GTA 4 for lacking many of San Andreas' most memorable elements, such as RPG systems, a more diverse map, and optional activities like turf wars. These omissions have only become more glaring over time, especially thanks to the seemingly eternal reign of its successor, GTA 5, which added many of those elements back into the formula. It's probably true that some of those series-defining characteristics were likely held back from GTA 4 due to technical limitations. But you also get a sense that equipping Nico with a jetpack didn't quite fit the tone that Rockstar was going for with GTA 4. From Goodfellas to De Palma's Scarface, the crime genre has a rich history of critiquing itself. As influential as the original trilogy of PS2 GTA games are, they are essentially full-throated restatements of existing crime movie tropes, except shorn of all the tragedy. The heroes of these games rise from unfortunate circumstances, prison, obscurity, and certain death to become kingpins and made men captains of criminal industry. They get away with it too. Vice City's Tommy Vercetti blows away all the bad guys in his path, survives a major betrayal, and moves on to rule the city. San Andreas ends on much the same note. GTA 4 could hardly be more different. The franchise's 4th numbered entry is an immigrant story modeled on more dour films, especially Cronenberg's Eastern Promises. Protagonist Nico Bellic arrives to America in proverbial rags, but the riches don't come easily or quickly. Instead of rising up the criminal ladder, Nico spends most of his time bailing out his dim-witted cousin, Roman, who constantly puts himself in difficult positions due to his gambling habits. Throughout the game's opening hours, Nico discovers that nearly everything that Roman told him about his life in America is a lie, and that achieving the American dream will be a lot harder than he thought it would be. A major turning point in the game comes when Nico kills Roman's loan shark, Vlad, who is connected to the Russian mob. Vlad's friends kidnap Nico and Roman and burn down the latter's taxi company, leaving them bereft. However, after surviving these early travails, Nico manages to find enough work in the criminal underground to keep the duo afloat. And though he in turn earns quite a bit of money from his work with the Irish mob and the mafia, though he never rises as far as Vercetti or CJ. Flashy rewards like mansions and fast cars continue to elude Nico. Like GTA 3 before it, there are very few things to actually spend Nico's hard-earned cash on. GTA 4's idea of a big purchase is a drab navy suit. The key plot events of GTA 4 ultimately rely on choices that the player makes throughout the story, especially near the end of the game. Its emotional climax comes when Nico finally tracks down Darko Breivik, the man who betrayed his military unit back in Eastern Europe. The player then chooses whether to execute or spare Darko. If you do kill him, Nico says that he feels empty. If you spare him, Nico admits that he realized that killing him would change nothing. Regardless of your choice, it's bitter stuff. Another thing to note here is the focus. The game sets out to give us an ultra-real-world experience but had practically no multiplayer. This radically changed in the next game, GTA 5, where the devs gave us a very weak story which is at best a one-time play. I have personally set out to start multiple playthroughs, but lose interest too quick. Rockstar has been focused on the multiplayer and has been churning out new content regularly, and it is no wonder that the game has been on Steam's top 10 list, even after 10 years of release. If we now look at Red Dead Redemption 2, this game can be considered a product sequel to GTA 4. The story hits home with the characters, the plot, the rich and diverse world, and the conversations. They feel human and anyone can continue exploring the world, days on end without need of multiplayer or progress in the story. Never before in the video game industry, so much detail has been put together in a single game, and the artists definitely deserved all the awards and more they received. Like GTA 4, the multiplayer aspect was ignored by Rockstar, and ultimately last year, they withdrew the development team that would have been responsible for new updates. What I mean to say is, both these games focused on a serious and well-developed story and they became legends of their time. Now there is talk of GTA 6, which will be announced this month. I have serious doubts how good the story will be, as I think the focus will be again on the multiplayer as it will be their money-minting machine for the next decade. Coming to Red Dead Redemption 3, if at all the game comes out sometime around 2028, I think the world would have changed too much to have an appetite for a laid-back gunslinger game with a solid story. Fast-paced multiplayer is what the world wants and it is where money is to be made. If you have endured the video till the end and liked it, please subscribe and leave a comment. I usually do not make such long content and it will be a great encouragement.